Around 1,000 years before Christ, in the time of David, the Valley of Elah was the most strategic piece of real estate to maintain control of the whole promised land. To the victor, this piece of land in the Valley of Elah opens up the whole of the tribe of Judah's land all the way to Bethlehem and Jerusalem, only 25 kilometres away. It was crucial to the survival of Israel that the Philistines were stopped here and now in the Valley of Elah. And so it was that we are told in 1 Samuel 17 and verse 17 that David's father Jesse told David to run to the battle camp with food provisions for David's 3 brothers who were soldiers in Saul's army. And so from Bethlehem, David would approach Saul's army base, now called Qeiyafa, or the Elah fortress, from this road and this northern side of the Valley of Elah. And 1 Samuel 17:22 says, David left his things with the keeper of supplies and ran to the battle lines and asked his brothers how they were. Notice that David first came to the base camp, then left the food and supplies with the keeper of supplies, and then ran to the front line of soldiers where his brothers were. That's exactly the scene we have here. And this fortress was only recently discovered and excavated in the year 2009. And from this elevated fortress and front line, you can look right across the Valley of Elah to Soka and to Ephdamon and the Philistine army, exactly as 1 Samuel 17 verse 1 describes it. With only the winding Valley of Elah separating the two armies, the strategic advantage the high ground of the two mountain ranges offers is obvious. To be caught in the valley below would be disastrous. And so a proposition was made by the Philistines, a winner-take-all proposal between two men who would fight to the death, with the losing army laying down their weapons and surrendering themselves and their cities and all their possessions as slaves to the victors. A proposal, mind you, that they would not honour when they lost. And so it was into the valley that David came. So David would come down from this vantage point high above the valley below to meet the giant Goliath face to face, in the plain, in the field, in the Valley of Elah. And you can see from this map how the Valley of Elah snakes its way through the Shephelah, or network of valleys and creeks, with Israel on the north side of the valley and Bethlehem and Jerusalem behind them, and the Philistines on the south side with their cities of Gath and Akron and the Mediterranean Sea to their left. So we're entering in to the Valley of Elah. And on the left is where the children of Israel would have been. And they'd have been looking out over this valley, which is directly ahead of us, and then across to that mountains on the other side where the Philistines would have been also standing looking across, back at them across the Valley of Elah. And it's from the safety and security of this mountain height that David comes down in faith. And he comes down to this brook. And in this brook, he picks up 5 smooth stones and makes his way to meet Goliath, his giant, where he slays him with a stone from his sling. And so it's here, right in this Valley of Elah, with the children of Israel right across the top ridges and the Philistines over on this ridge over here. And as David comes down from the mountaintop after hearing the cries of Goliath for a challenger, that David comes down, he takes the stones out of the brook and he enters into this flat plain, this flat valley that opens up the whole way to the area of Bethlehem and Jerusalem if it was to fall. And so David gathers his stones and he meets Goliath in this valley. And of course, the consequences are that the God of Israel is with David. The God of Israel is with David, and he guides that stone. He guides that stone into the forehead of Goliath, and it's here that Goliath falls. And you can just imagine the pandemonium that broke out, first as Goliath falls to his knees and then to the ground, and secondly, as the two armies watch in disbelief as David raised his sword, the sword of Goliath, and cuts off his head with his own sword.
So be it!
First Samuel 17:52 tells us, the men of Israel and Judah rose up with a shout and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron, so that the wounded Philistines fell in the way from Sharim as far as Gath and Ekron. The name Sharim means two gates, and that is what the Elah fortress or the Khirbet Qeiyafa was known as. It was known as the place of two gates, and we can see the remains of these two gates in the ruins today. And we read that the dead and the wounded Philistines fell along the road to Gath and Ekron from the Valley of Elah, from this fortress. And it was a comprehensive victory to Israel over the Philistines.